especially because once you start getting older, you don't see as many multi-sport athletes. A lot of people start to pick. I would say stick in as many sports as you can for as long as possible.
Hey you, welcome back to the Athletes Podcast. This is the 225th episode of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you clicking on this button because you didn't have to do that today, but you did, and it's going to be the best decision that you made all day because you get to listen to Kaitlynn Ross and Madison Willan, a couple multi-sport athletes, share a bit about their upbringing, their exposure to the world of sport, both in hockey, baseball, and golf for Madison in her case. I also got to chat with Kaitlynn Ross, who's a goalie, so, we had some fun. This is the first time we've had 3 people on the pod in a while. We get to chat, communicate, have a bit more of a casual conversation. These 2 wonderful women were driving across Canada from Alberta to Quebec to be able to play for Team Canada Baseball. This is a new league. You'll hear more about it in this episode. I mix up the language around it, so I apologize for that. But I will make up for it, I promise, because we continue to do this on a weekly basis. And fortunately, we have Perfect Sports powering us on a weekly basis. I take their protein every single day, whether it's the Diesel bars, whether it's Altered State pre-workout. Diesel protein is always in the system. And fortunately, now Kaitlynn's using it as well. Also, public service announcement, friendly reminder. Our April book club is wrapping up this month. We had Outlive by Peter Attia. If you have not read it yet, listen to it on audiobook. Shoot me a message or Katie Simonson a message. We're going to be reviewing it sometime over the coming weeks with our book club members. So if you want to be a part of that, shoot me a message. Let's get connected. And for those of you who aren't aware, we have an athlete agreement on here. This isn't free. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button wherever you're consuming our content, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Buzzsprout, Pod Player, Amazon Music, wherever you're listening to our stuff. Just hit that subscribe button so that we can continue doing this on a weekly basis so that you can continue watching, maybe even asking your own question. Who knows what could happen? Stuff gets crazy here on the Athletes Podcast. Kaitlynn Ross, MRU goaltender, Team Canada Baseball, no big deal. Madison Willan, U of A golf, U of A hockey, Team Canada Baseball, no big deal. Let's get into this episode featuring these 2 multi-sport athletes where we have an absolute blast at Perfect Sports headquarters. Here we go.
You are the most decorated racquetball player in U.S. history. World's strongest man. From childhood passion to professional athlete. 8-time Ironman champion. So what was it like making your debut in the NHL? What is your biggest piece of advice for the next generation of athletes? From underdogs to national champions. This is the Athletes Podcast, where high-performance individuals share their triumphs, defeats, and life lessons to educate, entertain, and inspire the next generation of athletes. Here we go.
You can tell by the enthusiasm in her voice. She was super excited to do this podcast. Kaitlynn Ross, Madison Willan. Let's bring out the energy. You guys just got some caffeine in the system. I know you've traveled a long way here. We got like 40 minutes. We're going to have some fun, learn about Team Canada Baseball. We're going to learn about MRU and University of Alberta hockey, as well as U of A hockey, amongst other things. Rawlings. What else? What else are we going to learn? About balance, we talked about. We're going to talk about being multi-sport athletes, traveling on the road. What else?
Maybe a little bit of what it's been like for me and Maddie to play against each other and then play with each other and kind of that dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, Can West is just a super crowded place for women's hockey right now, and you guys only get 1 spot in Natty Champs. What's going on there?
You tell me.
Next year, it's going to be a showdown.
Are they going to change that? Have they talked about that at all? Because, I feel like between UBC, U of A, MRU, those are 3 legit teams on their own, probably deserving of 2 spots in the national championships.
I've had talk amongst my friends of that hopes of that changing. I don't know if that's something that will be changing. In regard to the layout and who can make nationals and stuff like that. But if you do look, we have some pretty solid teams, and it's always unfortunate that only 1 team like last year or 2 teams can make it. So it would be nice for the layout to change. I don't know if that will happen. You have any thoughts on that, Maddie?
I just know that there's a lot of really good teams in Can West, and we have, I think, around 9 teams. And whenever you play any one of those teams any weekend, anybody can win. It's not really you go into a weekend, you're like, oh, this is an easy win. Like every team challenges you, and it makes you play your best game and forces you to play your best game every weekend. And so for those reasons, I feel like it would be nice if we had more opportunity to showcase Canada West in the national championship, knowing that we have a lot more teams in our league, but also a lot of really good teams that can compete at that level.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, I would say Canada West is something that's like heavily underrated too. Not many people know that we're a good conference and that we have good teams. They're kind of just like, oh, it's Canada West, it's whatever. They don't really win anything. It's nothing like that. So it'd be nice for them to like put some respect on our name. Like, oh, we have some good teams out there. We have U of A, you have UBC, us. Like list goes on. Like there's a bunch of good teams.
You a big Richard Sherman fan?
Who's that?
Put some respect on my name.
No.
NFL.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's true. I was at the Can West finals watching UBC U of A. Obviously, we know what happened during that game, but both games 2 and 3 got a parking ticket during game 2. It's BS, but either way, what are you gonna do? You know, you live in a shoe, and it happened to be that it was pouring rain. I go inside. Guy literally ticketed as I'm buying parking. I was like, whatever. What are you gonna do, right?
I love that.
Hopefully you didn't have any parking tickets on your trip out here so far. It's been crazy. 4 days on the road. How are you guys staying hydrated, taking Hydro Splash? What the heck are you guys doing to stay mobile?
Yeah, well, I think definitely we've been lacking a little bit. It's hard to sit in the car for 10 to 12 hours a day.
Welcome to the AP tour.
Yeah, no kidding. Definitely getting some sores, but every couple hours we like to switch up who's driving, take a couple laps around the car, doing whatever we can to stay active.
It probably might be good for everyone, those watching, who aren't familiar with each of you, to have a little bit of backstory, maybe a 60-second Coles Notes of your athletic career, because I could talk about the fact that last year you won Natty Champs, goalie, MVP, no big deal. Madison, I could talk about the fact that you're a 3-sport athlete with golf as well, but I'd rather you guys share a little bit about your background, maybe what got you into sport, if there was anyone that inspired you, and how you're continuing to perform at the top level with all 3 or 2 or whatever the heck else you're doing on the side, Kate, because you're making funny TikToks and crap. You know?
Don't bring those up.
Yeah, I know. You're it's blocked now. We're going to make it unprivate by the end of this episode.
You want to start, Maddie?
Sure. Well, both, I think my parents both got me into hockey and baseball. So I kind of started there at a young age, around 4 or 5, and I just grew to love both the game and, with golf as well. When I was around 14, I kind of had to choose between golf and baseball because they both got really competitive and a lot of overlap started to happen. So I chose to stay with baseball, and golf kind of took a back seat. Someone who's motivated me through baseball, definitely Nicole Lachansky. Her work ethic, honestly is just so inspiring. She continued to push the pace every day and inspire me to be that next generation of a baseball player. And honestly, she's just been a huge inspiration to me, and happy that I get to forge a friendship with her as I've gotten older. And she no longer plays, but we still keep in touch, and that's someone definitely on the baseball side. And over COVID, I got back into golf because that was the only thing you could do it in those couple years. So I found my way back to golf, and then I was fortunate enough to play on the golf team at U of A as well. So I do that and hockey, and it's been pretty cool to do both.
Heck yeah. No big deal.
No.
Just
big
like
deal.
casually picked up golf again in COVID and now breaks 80s consistently. Like, you're competing. You won club champ as well.
Yeah, won the club championship 2 years. Yeah.
Too easy.
Too
easy.
I would be so rattled if I was the member there that's just been grinding for years and she comes in out of nowhere. She's like, yeah, I've just been playing hockey and baseball, but I picked up golf because I can't do anything else, and I just went back to back on the club champs. No big deal.
Yeah, just stealing the show.
Like, geez, that'd be, yeah.
Everyone's going to know what Madison Willan is. Just stealing the show.
Has that been like for you guys since you were kids? Because that's the other part of your guys' story that's unique. Like, you guys grew up together. You're playing your rivals on the ice for 6 months out of the year, but for the other 6 months, you're on the same team between catcher and shortstop. Like, that's got to be an interesting dynamic. You guys got to dabble between.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a fun one. It's interesting. I know in my case, I'm a goalie. When we play against each other, she plays U of A, I play Mount Royal.
Best, by the way. Attendees got to stick together, you know.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's always interesting because I have a little bit of an edge. I'm like, oh, like I know me and Maddie are friends, but we're competitive on the ice. Like, we're always pushing each other to be better. So anytime she's on, I'm like, okay, she can't score on me. She's the only one on the ice that's not allowed to score on me. Obviously, I don't want anyone else to score, but she can't score on me. And when she does score on me, I'm a little more bitter about it. But I would say we do a good job at keeping things friendly away from the ice, but we're very, very competitive and push each other when it comes to playing against each other. Even playing with each other, we're very, very competitive, and we always push each other and make each other uncomfortable and like push our boundaries with each other, which I think is good.
Yeah, I think we both, like, one of the traits that have gotten us this far in hockey and baseball is that we're both competitive, but we both bring out the best out of each other. I think that's also why we've been friends for this long as well. We bring out the best in each other. We want the best for each other, and we remain competitive within that. Like, we keep the competitive side where it belongs, like on the field or on the ice. But then away from that, it's like, hey, how are you doing? Like, then we get our chance to catch up with each other.
Yeah, after every game, you guys are chatting. That's rare.
Yeah,
especially post game when you guys play each other. I can't imagine what those combos look like.
Yeah, some are hard ones.
Yeah,
There's been
definitely
some tough ones.
playoffs when we play each other. I think we played each other for the second time in a row in playoffs.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's two different outcomes there, but both were just as hard. Because I don't like to see you upset, and I'm sure you don't like to see me upset, and it sucks that we can't both go to nationals, and we meet in semis, and one of our seasons ends on that day. But those conversations are hard, but we always try to catch up and chat or whatever whenever we get the chance.
Yep. Sucks things work out that way, but pushes each other to be the best.
For sure.
Okay, what about you, Kate? Get your story. Inspo, upbringing.
Gotcha.
Tandy, what got you into being a goalie? Most people are a little curious around why you like getting rubber tossed at you.
Well, I'll get into that one a little bit. I'll start off with I grew up watching my brothers play sports.
Heck yeah. How old are they? I guess now. Like, are they way older?
They're 7 and 9 years older than me.
Oh, okay. So legit. Okay.
Yeah.
Are
So
you the youngest?
yeah, I'm the baby. Middle child, like the middle brother, the one that's 7 years older. He played a lot of hockey and baseball. And so that's what I grew up watching from like a young age. I was at the Diamonds. I was watching my brother play. I was just learning about the game. And like, I was like, I like this. Like, I think I want to play this. Like, that's kind of where the love of the game started. I got into T-ball. It was funny. I like went to my dad. I was like, I want to play soccer. He was like, you're not playing soccer. I was like, but I want to play. He's like, no, we're going to put you in T-ball. Put me in T-ball. Funny enough, I hated it.
No.
I from a young age, I think I was competitive. Didn't like that wasn't competitive. So I hated T-ball, but then I stuck through it and I started playing as I got older. So then I would say like the love for it grew then. And same with hockey. Got into hockey. From a very young age also, I was like, I want to be a goalie. My dad was like, that is not.
He's just like looking at his wallet.
He's like,
see you later, money.
No, talk to me in 2 years.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, oh, I want to be a goalie. He was like, no, you don't. He's like, you don't want to be a goalie. I was like, Dad, I want to be a goalie. And I was like, I was young at this point. Like, it was before Adam, so I don't know what age that would be. Maybe younger than 10, something like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I want to be a goalie. He's like, nope, you don't. And I was like, okay. He's like, give it a couple years, you'll be a player. You'll start off as a player, you'll like develop some skills, which the skills do not help me whatsoever now. But you'll develop some skills and then you can try being a goalie.
Skating's important as a goalie.
Yeah, but I'm not much of a skater.
I don't know if I want to see that stride.
I ain't a pretty skater. I ain't pretty.
I don't know if that's something good to watch.
But yeah, eventually I was like, okay, no, it's been a couple years. Like, I've been a player. Like, I want to be a goalie. It was like, okay, you can try it out. So I think it was first year, second year of Adam. He was like, you can try it out. Tried it out. Loved it. Don't know why. I don't know why I thought it'd be fun to get hit by a flying rubber. But I've stuck with it, and I've loved it ever since. I'm very, very glad I made that switch. Otherwise, I would not have some of the opportunities that I've had today. Yeah, I would say a big part of my success, too, has probably been my older brothers. Like, obviously, they played with me a lot when I was younger, pushed me a lot. And my dad, too, he's always like, what do you want to work on today? Let's go out in the field. Let's go hit some wiffle balls. Let's go pitch, like that kind of thing. So I owe a huge amount of my success to them. They've definitely pushed me and like motivated me to be the athlete that I am today. So
Dang,
yeah.
little heartstrings here in the middle of the combo
Yeah,
here
well, I
from
don't know.
Kate. I love it. It's good. You know,
that was a little soft on me.
I know,
That
it's
was a
good.
little soft.
It's important. It's hey, it's soft like those Diesel peanut butter bars that you get to
Oh.
chew into for the little mid-roll ad there that they love to hear.
Okay, so a lot of people ask about supplements and the stuff that we use. I figured I'd just break down my supplement stack during this sponsored ad for Perfect Sports. I use their protein, the Diesel Whey Isolate. It is the best on the market, New Zealand whey. My favorite flavor here is the Canadian maple. It is so damn good. I can't tell you. It's insane. When I need to get a little fired up during the day, I take some Altered State pre-workout. It's the best on the market. There's 3 different types of caffeine. Obviously, it's increasing blood flow, but one of the best parts is the nootropics aspect that they add to their recipe. It's the best pre-workout on the market. Right now, you can buy it half price. Go get it, perfectsports.com. Use the code AP20 to save 20% on all this stuff. Hydro Splash to stay hydrated. Good combination here. Great flavor in the peach. Use that post-workout after the sauna sessions. You know we got to get those in. And then creatine. It's the most researched supplement in the market. Obviously, people have been using it for decades, and the research is there. If you want to be putting on size, adding strength, creatine is a supplement that you should be adding to your repertoire. Without further ado, let's get back to this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Again, big shout out to our partner, Perfect Sports Supplements, for powering the Athletes Podcast. Back to the show.
No, I only bring up those kind of inspirations because it's important for people to realize that it can be those little things, moments that may be seen insignificant as the adult or as the mentor in that case. But like for you, your older brothers probably had the biggest impact on you and probably are the reason why where you're at today, right?
For sure.
And I think, a little adversity. Playing with older brothers, you probably got your...
Oh, I never won. I never, ever won. That was so funny. I was home the other day, and I was playing a game with my brother. He beat me my entire life. I've never won anything. Mini sticks, road hockey, never won. I was beating him in a game. He rage quits. So I was like, nice.
Ooh, see, he never
Nice.
dealt with
He's
that growing
salty.
up.
Yeah.
He never dealt
It's like,
with
this
it.
is the first time I've ever beat you, and you're quitting on me. But no.
That's weak. You can hold that against him for the rest of his life.
Oh,
And
probably,
you can tell him
yeah.
I'll bring it up whenever he wants
Yeah.
on this pod. Whenever you want, I got you. This is what you got to do. You got to make sure people are aware that adversity also fuels success, right? And like sometimes, a lot of the times, it's not always glamorous. Driving across the country isn't glamorous. Finding motels, ways to pay for that isn't glamorous,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Like, but you keep chugging along, you keep doing the right things, putting in, believing in the process, Joel Embiid, whatever quotes you want to use, like, and eventually things start to come to fruition, right? And like, I don't know, you guys are also familiar with a guy like Lander and well connected with him. I'd love to maybe give him a little spotlight because you're wearing the hoodie. You guys are both LDC talent athletes, also
Represent.
Cook Stark management athletes. Let's give Lander 30 seconds. What was your first exposure to Lander?
Oh, first exposure. It's funny. He was actually dating my best friend.
That's a good way to get in.
But no, yeah, he's very passionate about it. I think he really wants success for us and works hard to get that for us. And I love that. And I love that I do have a more of a personal connection with him. It makes him easy to talk games, talk what he expects, like what he's going to work out for me. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
I don't have the same personal connection that you do, but I thought it was really awesome that he was willing to work with me for not only just hockey, but for baseball as well. He's one of the only agents that was even willing to consider that. And so, huge shout out to Lander for everything.
Yeah.
And now we got brands like Perfect Sports, Rawlings, hooking you up this summer. Obviously, you guys are going to spend 3 months in Montreal, Quebec baseball. Maybe shine some light on what that experience is like. This is year 2, year 3 for you guys heading there?
Year 2.
Year two. Yep.
So they started a league up in Quebec. It's like might be one of the only women's leagues in Canada.
Okay.
But they're,
Yep.
yeah, at least in Eastern Canada.
Yep.
and they're trying to grow it into a bigger thing. So like players like us, like that are on a national team, like we don't have anywhere to play. We age out. We don't want to play with the boys. So it's kind of a place for everyone to go that's highly competitive. Like I would say, how many girls were on the national team from that league? Like more than half.
I think it was 12 or 13 out of 20.
So a
players.
lot of, yeah.
So what's this league actually called?
It was called the Ligue du Canada Est, but I think they may have changed it this year to something else, but that is what they called it last year.
Mm-hmm.
Ligue du Canada Est.
Ouais.
Sounds good to me. I don't know French.
I've got my Delph B2, so I should be able to at least say it. But either way, I'm going to chalk it up to the fact that they haven't promoted the league well enough yet. And no, I honestly, like, so tell me more. How many teams are in it? What's like some more of these details so that people are aware? Maybe they can go watch if they're in the Quebec area.
So there's currently 4 teams. One of the teams is a younger team, so I believe that's 17 and under. Yeah. Just to have another team in the league, more exposure, more games type of vibe. The other teams, like Kaitlynn had mentioned, an opportunity for girls to play competitive baseball against other girls. Mm-hmm. So I do believe it's one of the only competitive female leagues in Canada to play baseball, and that's why it has attracted a lot of national team athletes or potential future national team athletes. That is the hot spot to be, to play against the best, mm-hmm. and to be in areas where the national team coaches are all around. And so if you need support, if you need whatever, it's all available to you.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah.
And then, yeah, the league, they bumped up how many games it is. So I think it's a 40-game season this year. And it runs from May till September. It varies with us because we're from Alberta, so it's a little harder to stay out there that long. Mm-hmm. But playoffs is usually end of August, September, and we're there for, 3-4 months, play a bunch of games. There's a couple tournaments we go to. It's a pretty good time. We had a lot of fun with it last summer, and I know we're looking forward to it again. So.
And that's where you bring the Alberta grease into play.
Exactly. We got to bring the Alberta grease.
Can you guys tell me, because we talked about it briefly at Starbucks, but we need to share the full grease experience with those watching and listening on YouTube.
Yeah, you start this one off. You have a better memory than me.
Alberta grease. Where do we start? I think it began in our early seasons with the senior women's Team Alberta team, and we were just having a pretty tough game, and nothing seemed to be going our way. And one of our teammates just said, "We got to bring out the grease. We got to bring out this Alberta grease." And we're like, "What are you talking about? Like, what grease? Like, what do you mean?" And then all of a sudden, we just strung some hits together. We started scoring runs, and it was not pretty.
No,
not pretty by any means. It wasn't your typical single or double down the line. It was, you hit the ball weak and you beat it out, or like whatever it was. We were just getting it done, and the ball was just spinning in our favor, and that's kind of where the grease, I think, began.
Yeah, and then so team kind of totally changes, has a little makeover. So me and Maddie are some of the only veterans left on that team, and I think we're playing in Ontario Nationals last year. Yeah, it would have been last year.
Yeah.
And we're losing. I think we're down by 3. Top of 6, top of 7, something like that. Like, we need to score runs and nothing is going our way. They have a pretty good pitcher going against us. I don't remember exactly who. And I was like, what do we do? What do we do in this situation? I was like, grease. I was like, we got to bring the grease back. So I'm standing in the dugout and I was like, Alberta grease, let's get it going. And I'm stirring the little pot of grease, and I have people coming in and they're going like this on the grease, starting the fire. I was like, we need to get the grease going. Next thing you know, we're getting these dinky little hits. We're barely making it happen. They ain't pretty, but we're like, okay, it's working. We're getting on base. We got to keep doing it. The grease is burning. It's turning. We're getting it going. And somehow we came back and won that game.
We won that game. Yeah, we were down by 3, top of 7. We only played 7 innings, so we had to get it done. We had a few good hits to start us off, and then the grease train just kept going. And every hit, we just built more momentum, and then everybody on the bench was just fired up and yelling Alberta grease. And you know for a fact, it just like was rent free in all of Ontario's heads. And we had to win that game, or else we were done. Like we had to win that. We had to win that game to stay eligible to even play for a medal. So the fact that we were able to come back by 3, and I think we won by like a few runs as well. I think that was kind of funny. And then we went on to win bronze last year. So that was kind of the TSN turning point of the tournament. We brought that grease with us, and we needed it, and the fire was burning, the grease fire.
Momentum is a crazy thing in sports.
For sure.
Like
100%.
People don't realize it who've never played the game, but you start squeezing the stick a little bit harder. You, in baseball, I don't know what the term would be, but what's the definition? What's the equivalent of squeezing your stick too hard? Squeezing your stick too hard.
Russian plays, squeezing the bat too hard.
Gripping the ball too tight. Gripping the bat too tight. Everything's
You guys ever get the yips? You're familiar with the yips in golf. Like, you ever get the yips in ball where you're like making a play from shortstop to first? She's like, no, I'm perfect.
Maddie's too good for that.
No. I just haven't had something like that, but I've definitely, there's been times where I'm like, man, I can't throw to first. But I don't know if I'd call it the yips. I just couldn't make the throw.
Maybe an internal thing.
Yeah, it could have just been an internal thing. Could have been an arm is sore thing. Could have been.
So it could be the yips, but
it could have been the yips.
That's okay. She doesn't want to call it that.
Yeah.
Hey, I respect it. That's a hard mindset. You're like unflappable. What do you? I guess I'm curious if you were to turn back the clock 10 years as a young female athlete, now seeing the opportunities that are out there for hockey players, that are coming for baseball players, golfers out there. I know we had this discussion when I was in Edmonton around like maybe I would have gone harder when I was younger at golf, seeing some of the other people and what they've pursued. Do you have thoughts on that now, looking back, or maybe what advice you would provide to that next gen?
I know we had a conversation about kind of that decision-making process between baseball and golf, because I feel like I could have gone either way. Like, that was probably the decision. But to me, at that point in my life, I wanted to stay with a team sport. I just enjoyed it better. I felt like I was meeting a lot more people like me and having that competitive mindset. And going into golf, I mean, it could have been a whole lot of fun. It could have brought me a whole bunch of other opportunities. I'll never know. Yeah. But to me, at that point in my life, I love the team sport, but also the individual aspect of baseball. I still think it's the perfect combination of individual within a team. Because you can't go up there and bat for someone. You have to do it yourself. You can't make a play for someone else. They have to make the play, but at the end of the day, it's a team win. Yeah. And I love that aspect of baseball. And I know every summer when it's time to play baseball again, it challenges me mentally every single summer. And then it allows me to stay in that competitive mindset that when I go back to hockey, I'm ready to go. And because baseball is the game of failure, as we know. And it is really hard to stay positive when you're failing most of the time, especially with hitting. So
yeah, 3 for 10, you end up in the Baseball Hall of Fame, right? Like, literally, like, and which is a crazy stat, because no other sport, if you make contact with a golf ball 3 out of 10 times, you're definitely not making it to the Hall of Fame.
No,
right? Like, but I mean, a guy like Ichiro, what was it? First 11 at bats, and then or first 10 at bats, and I think after that his career batting average never dropped below 300. But like, that never happens, and that's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. Right? And to your point we were talking about earlier, it's like you never have an opportunity to even half the time be successful in that sport, which is mind-boggling.
100%.
It's for sure a mental battle. Like, I know that's something that I struggle with. The mental aspect of hockey I'm a little bit better with, but when it comes to baseball, I get a little bit more in my head.
You like seeing those 900 saves
Yeah.
percentage. That's what I'm
Yeah.
I was looking at your stats. 971, 968. Yeah.
Yeah, like I would say, the numbers look a little bit better in hockey.
Yeah.
It's definitely a little bit harder when you're looking at your numbers and you're batting below 300. Definitely more of a mental thing that I struggle with. But it always keeps you working. It always pushes you. It makes you want to overcome the failure to get over 300. Not super realistic, but that's always the goal.
Are you a Nucks fan?
Yeah.
Let's go. Oh, that made so much better.
I think Demko's hurt though. That's
He
totally
is.
off topic.
We're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sad.
Yeah, when this goes live, we're gonna find out. We'll know then whether we need to cross every finger possible. Between DeSmith, I think maybe I don't know. We'll see. Dakota Joshua, playoff D, man. He's legit. He's the best. Canucks all the way. Sorry, Leafs are going to be done after the first round again.
Probably.
Yeah, that's just my hot take here.
That's just how it is.
I'll get some flack for that one, but either way. Who's your team?
Colorado.
You're both Avs fans?
No.
No,
I don't
she
like
just
the Avs.
she
I
just wears
think
the hat.
This is pretty.
Oh.
She just
I'm
wears the
gonna get hated
hat.
on for that.
I'm just here I am
Yeah.
just confused. Okay.
She likes the merch, not the team.
So both of you being from Alberta, screw the Flames and Oilers, eh?
I cheer for the Oilers, but
Okay.
I wouldn't say they're my team. I mean, I grew up in Edmonton, and I want them to do well, but Colorado is just where it's at.
I'm gonna get backlash for this, but I hate the Flames.
There's a lot of people that share that opinion. There's also a lot of people that thought I looked like McDavid when I was in Edmonton and signed a couple autos. Disappointed.
Just soaking it.
Yeah.
Disappointed
Like,
a bunch
yeah.
of people. That one, I definitely. If they end up against the Canucks at some point, we might have to create some content around that. Have some fun. Confuse some fans only
Yeah.
briefly.
Yeah.
Just leads to disappointment at the end, but
Yeah,
that's what I'm used to.
don't worry. I brought my Canucks jersey to Quebec, so we're gonna be repping it.
I should have brought mine. We could have gotten a team pick here. That was
Could have worn it today.
poor planning on my part. I should have known. But the hoodie looks better. And
It does. It's a very nice hoodie.
it's important that people realize what we're doing. I appreciate you guys coming out here, Two Perfect Sports, for chatting, driving all over Ontario, coming down for this conversation. What else did we want to talk about today? Balance was a factor that we wanted to bring up, or maybe the fact that balance isn't a thing, or how do you balance being a three-sport athlete, winning MVP at national championships? Like, balance, is it a thing? Is balance a thing?
Yes, and I would say it's something can be tricky to balance, especially because once you start getting older, you don't see as many multi-sport athletes. A lot of people start to pick, which a little advice, I would say stick in as many sports as you can for as long as possible. Don't pick one. But yeah, balance is a huge part of it. I think it definitely, personally for me, helps a lot that I don't do hockey all throughout the year and then do baseball all throughout the year, that I kind of have my moments of like, hey, here's 6 months of hockey or whatever, here's 6 months of baseball. It's nice that I get to split it up, but it's also important that I maintain throughout the summer, even though I'm not playing hockey, maintain that and come back so I can be just as good as I was when I left, like where I could pick up where I started, it's something that's a little bit harder, especially with the amount of baseball that I have been doing.
Yeah.
But there's ways you'll adapt training programs, like stuff like that. You'll find ice times. You'll do what works for you. And if you can, I'd say do it.
I think we talked about it, Maddie, around like, you can still maintain that competitive edge and spirit. And honestly, the other piece was not overworking your body in one specific range of motion or modality, right? Like being able to change it up from golf, baseball, hockey is important.
For sure. And using different muscles like we talked about, not overworking the same ones. I know when I go to baseball or then when I transition back into hockey, definitely using different muscles. And it's important that you get to strengthen different ones and get to use your body in a different way. Same thing that Kaitlynn said, competitive mindset, like you're in that competitive mindset year round, and it looks a little different too.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about with baseball, right? Like you're failing most of the time, and it's how you deal with your mental battle. And then when you go back to hockey and something doesn't go your way, it's a lot easier to deal with because in hockey you can almost make up for your mistake right away. You don't have to sit with it as long. Definitely in baseball, like if you strike out or you don't get a hit, you have to sit and think about it basically until your next at bat. But you have to learn how to park that, how to let it go, have a memory of a goldfish, as Ted Lasso would say.
Heck yeah.
You got,
I love that. I
love that. Would
Oh,
recommend
man. Believe
that show. Yeah.
That's
100%. You gotta have a memory of a goldfish, because if you carry that with you back to the plate, it's not gonna help you.
Yeah.
So
I hadn't even really thought about that, but baseball is an extension. Like if you hit a bad shot in golf, you got like anywhere from 60 to 90 seconds before your next shot. You can kind of recover, make up for it, change your mindset. But like Paul, you might be waiting 3 innings before you hit next.
100%.
You're going to simmer over that for an hour and just unleash. And I'd probably swing and miss again. But yeah. Oh, man. Whew. What's been like your maybe biggest myth that you've uncovered over the years within sports? Some people are always looking at the fact that, there's different things that you uncover as an athlete that work for you or don't, whether it's cold exposure, training with carbohydrates before or after. Like, are there specific things that you've uncovered in your training or that you've learned along the years that you're like, oh, that's something that I wish I knew when I was younger too, or might benefit a young female athlete?
I don't know if this is a myth, but I always used to think that it was a myth. Recovery is important. You need to stretch.
yes.
Especially for me, catcher and a goalie. I did not stretch at all when I was younger, and now my body's facing a little bit of the repercussions.
That's crazy. You're very mobile from what I've seen.
Yeah, but a lot of physio, a lot of athletic therapy, a lot of work to maintain maintain injuries, prevent injuries. Not maintain injuries, but you know what I mean. Like prevent injuries, whatever. So stretch. Do your stretch, do your cool downs, do your warm-ups. It's important. I still struggle with it to this day. But yeah, I used to think it was a myth. Not a myth. Do it.
Yeah, you get to a certain age where you can't afford to skip a warm-up or cool down anymore.
Yeah.
I know when I was 16 or 17, I could do whatever, whenever, and I didn't face the consequences of it. But now, like, you need to warm up. You need to cool down. You got to give your body that chance to warm up and recover properly. So I would say make sure you incorporate that.
It's like those big rocks. People don't realize like the importance of sleep. And I think it honestly comes down to habits in general. Like your parents, coaches are probably preaching it growing up that you should be getting 8 hours of sleep. You should make sure you're getting your protein in, you're sleeping, you're recovering properly, to your point. Like, and if you're not sleeping 8 hours, if you're not drinking adequate amounts of water, if you're not fueling your body with the right food, you're probably not going to perform at your best. No. And it's going to handicap you despite all the hard work, despite all the reading, everything else that you do. So that is like huge advice. And I think hopefully those folks listening, whether you're female, male, or any other sport looking to participate and get better, you should be doing those big rocks. Why didn't you believe that when you were young?
I don't know. I think maybe I had the little bit of a mindset like I'm naive. I'm invincible. Yeah. Like it's not gonna happen to me. My body feels fine now. It's not gonna bother me in a couple of years. I had the same thing when I was 16. I was like, I feel like money. Like I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
money.
Money, baby.
But I'm like, I feel like money. Like I'm not gonna have injuries. Like I haven't gotten anything so far. Like anything, like it'll go away in a couple of days. But it's like no. Like I'm 22 now, and I'm like starting to feel my age, and I'm not even that old. So yeah, I think I was just a little bit naive to it, and it is very much there.
I guess you mentioned age. Obviously, with how things have progressed with the PWHL, that's both on the radar. We were at the draft 6-8 months ago, whenever it was, and that was incredible to be able to witness in downtown Toronto. For you guys, what are those career aspirations? What do you want to still achieve, whether it's in golf, baseball, hockey, or any other pursuits? Like I think you guys have the ability to do anything you set your minds to, both of you clearly. So I'd love for you to share it with our audience so that they can check in with you, follow along your journeys, because I know you're going to be posting more on your socials this summer. So what should they be looking forward to?
Want to go first?
No, you got it.
Okay. I think the goal that I've set myself ultimately for the next couple of years is to get drafted in the P-Dub. I have another year of university left, and then after that I'm hoping to enter the draft and go in that league. Further aspirations would be Hockey Canada, finding a way into their system, maybe playing for the national team one day. I think those are my two ultimate goals, but I do want to play pro hockey after, and also hoping that I can balance a little bit of baseball in there too to keep that going.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Despite it maybe not paying as much as it should, right?
Baseball?
Yeah.
There's
I know they can't say it, but I will.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
One day. We're hoping.
Hey.
Maybe this league will grow that we're in. So.
Baby steps. We need people like yourself playing in it. It's the performances that you guys are putting together. People are paying attention, and it's only a matter of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What about you, Willan?
Similar to Kaitlynn, would love to continue to play hockey once I'm done with U of A. Whatever that looks like for me, whatever's the best fit. If that's playing in the PWHL, if that's going to play somewhere in Europe, something that's a really good fit for me. Continuing to live out my athletic career as long as possible, I think has been my my goal. So whatever that looks like, if that's with hockey, if that's with baseball, whatever will allow me to play as long as my body allows me to, I would love to do that.
Hey, maybe we'll be able to play on the same hockey team for once.
Yeah, that is something we
That would
haven't
be fun.
done. That would be fun. So I don't have to shoot against you all the
You
time.
don't have to score on me anymore.
Hey, maybe by that time the P-Dub will expand out west. Maybe a Calgary franchise.
Yeah.
Maybe an Edmonton franchise.
That'd be nice.
Who
That'd be
knows?
cool.
I know that Mississauga is applying for a PWHL team. I believe
No
I
way.
just saw
Okay.
yesterday on Six Buzz. That
Sweet.
being the super, super riveting news and the best channel source for all of your information for anyone
Yeah.
wondering. Other than the Athletes podcast, it's then Six Buzz right underneath for highest quality for sure. CBC, CTV, never heard of them.
No.
What do you guys want to leave the Athletes podcast listeners and viewers with? Because I feel like we dragged you all the way out here to the Middle East of Ontario and of Canada, I should say. Yeah, what do you want to leave with? What have we not touched on? Where do you think that you can provide a bit of insight here in the last couple minutes of this conversation and that thousands of athletes are going to benefit from?
I'd say probably my one piece of advice. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what gender you are, anything like that. If you want to play in sports, you can. If you want to play a high level, you can. You can play in competitive sports. I know a lot of the times growing up, it was, oh, women can't be in sports. Women can't be in sports. It was a strong narrative, like, oh, they should be on their own. If you want to play with the boys, you can play with the boys. If you want to play with the girls, you can play with the girls. If you want to play, play. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't. Doesn't matter who you are, do what you want to do.
That's a tough one to follow.
It's good.
Well,
No.
that's just something that I would have been like to know when I was younger.
No, for
Like,
sure.
Do what you want to do. It doesn't matter what anyone else says.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I think for me, similar. But if you want to play more than one sport growing up, that is
Do it.
do it. Like, you definitely can. You can make it work. It's going to be hard. There's going to be some challenges with that. There's going to be coaches and parents and other people telling you that you shouldn't and that you should just focus on this one sport and that it'll be better for you. But honestly, do what makes you happy. If you want to continue to play two because you love them both, then do it.
Mm-hmm. And there's also that positive correlation of, okay, this sport we're using these muscles, that can translate over to this sport. Like, oh, you're catching baseballs in this sport and you're being a goalie in this sport. That correlates. Like, it keeps you in tip-top shape. It helps your other sport. Like, it helps you in all aspects. It helps you as an individual, an athlete, and a person. So
100%. You're definitely a more well-rounded athlete when you play more than one sport.
Mm-hmm.
We should have just let you guys do that whole thing right there. That was unreal. That was so good. Hey, that's where we're ending it. If I could drop this mic, I would. Kaitlynn Ross, Madison Willan, thank you guys so much for coming on the Athletes Podcast. I'm sure those listening are going to benefit a ton. They're going to share it with another athlete who could benefit, and they're going to crush some perfect sports using the code AP20, save 20%. And, hey, they're going to watch you this summer out in Montreal, Quebec, wherever it is, out east.
you guys will be traveling everywhere, and then
Yeah.
they'll watch you next year crush it on the ice. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
we'll look forward to featuring you again at some point when you're in the P-Dub, probably overseas crushing it, maybe playing on the LPGA Tour. Who knows?
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
It was a great time being on here. So, yeah.
Thanks, David. Love
That's
it.
the pod. Thanks, gals. Just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for each of you who are a part of this, watching, listening, consuming our content. We can't do it unless you folks are a part of this. Continue to sharing that. I appreciate it so much when you folks continue to share this content with other athletes who you believe would benefit. As you know, this is why I started the Athletes Podcast. I wanted to be able to educate, entertain, and inspire that next generation of athletes, be able to provide them with resources, knowledge, and wisdom that I wish I had growing up. And hopefully you folks do now, and those around you do. Let's make the next generation of athletes so much better. Thank you, Perfect Sports, for fueling us. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and we'll see you next week. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.